No knockouts, no knockdowns, no cuts, no winners, no judges. What up, Fightful fam, and welcome to your Fightful Fix Thursday, November 26, 2020 edition. We're going to take a look at all the confusion surrounding the rule set for Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. on Saturday. Plus, Francis Ngannou is getting very impatient, waiting for his heavyweight title shot. Now, before we begin, if you could please hit subscribe, tap the notification bell, and leave a like on this video. Those acts go such a long way to helping the channel grow, and we really do appreciate it. So, Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. takes place on Saturday, November 28th, and it's going to be an exhibition bout according to California State Athletic Commission Director Andy Foster. So there's been all sorts of confusion about the rule set for this fight, and Andy Foster cleared it up with MMA Fighting. So apparently, this is my understanding of it, it's going to be an exhibition bout. No knockouts, no knockdowns, no cuts, no winners, no judges. What does that mean? Well, according to this set of rules, it's basically 2 8-minute rounds of sparring. The boxers will also wear 12-ounce gloves instead of 10, and this seems to be what the case is. Now, it's interesting because Mike Tyson's coach said in a separate statement that both Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. are going out there looking for a finish. They did not put in all this time just to have 8 rounds of light sparring. I don't really know what to make of this. So, let's say that Mike Tyson's coach is speaking the truth and that Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. are both going out there looking for a finish. Now, the general perception going into the fight is that Mike Tyson has a few good rounds to get the knockout. Roy Jones Jr. is looking to dance his way to a decision. So I guess if someone scores a knockout or a knockdown or a cut, well, obviously, if it's a knockout, the fight's over. But if someone scores a knockdown, the fight is waved off early. Let's say Mike Tyson goes there and barely scores a knockdown. The referee is supposed to, I guess, stop the bout, and the entire fight is just kind of thrown out the window. So that's absurd to me, but it seems to be the case. Separately, Triller, the social media platform that is hosting and promoting the event, told MMA Fighting that they are completely on board with all of the California State Athletic Commission's regulations surrounding this fight, but that there will be celebrity guest judges remotely for WBO submitting scorecards, and they will declare the winner. So this is the part where we're kind of getting conflicting statements. Andy Foster insists that no winner will be announced, no scorecards will be read. He said that the WBO will have their own scorecards for their celebrity judges, but that is sort of left up to WBO to figure out. Triller comes out and says that the WBO will announce a winner. Now, this winner won't be on any official boxing records, but according to Triller, by the end of the night, we will have a winner announced by the celebrity judges. Andy Foster, meanwhile, says no winner will be announced. Maybe they're just having two separate conversations. Maybe Foster's talking specifically about a winner in the sense of whose name goes down on a record, in which the answer is none. And maybe Triller is discussing, the ceremonial winner that will be awarded that WBO frontline belt. So that's basically where we're at. I guess we'll see on fight night what exactly happens, what is meant to happen. The event begins, I think, at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, main card 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, and then I think Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. are expected to make the walk somewhere around 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Keep in mind that card also boasts YouTuber Jake Paul versus former 3-time NBA Slam Dunk champion Nate Robinson. And let's talk a little bit about Francis Ngannou. Yes, the Predator, the knockout machine, and rightful #1 contender for Stipe Miocic's UFC heavyweight title. Francis recently caught up with Brian Campbell over at Morning Combat. Shout out to them and all the great work they do. And Francis Ngannou says he's starting to get impatient, that he's in the prime of his career and he's stuck waiting on the sidelines as this UFC heavyweight title picture plays out. Now, what I don't understand is, what is there to play out? Francis Ngannou is the #1 contender. He has earned that right. Jon Jones has not earned that right. Stipe Miocic is, in theory, ready to take a fight, And even UFC President Dana White has stated multiple times that Francis Ngannou will get the heavyweight title shot before Jon Jones does. Francis Ngannou suffered his first UFC loss at the hands of Stipe Miocic in a 5-round unanimous decision at UFC 220 in January 2018. Since then, he had that supremely, unexpectedly lackluster fight against Derek Lewis, in which neither man was able to pull the trigger. He lost that fight on the scorecards. And then we saw the reemergence of the old and possibly evolved Francis Ngannou. He won 4 consecutive fights via first-round KO or TKO over Curtis Blaydes, Cain Velasquez, Junior Dos Santos, and Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Only one of those fights went past a minute 10, and I'm going to read out the length of those fights. 45 seconds, 26 seconds, 1 minute 11, and 20 seconds. So this dude has approximately 2 minutes and 45 seconds of fight time in his last 4 matches. It's interesting, isn't it? Because we hear that Francis Ngannou has shored up a lot of the holes in his wrestling defense that failed him the first time against Stipe Miocic. We know Stipe is a little bit older, coming off of 3 hard fights against Daniel Cormier. But has Francis Ngannou improved in meaningful ways in the areas that he has struggled in the past? We don't know, because no one has had the chance to challenge him in the grappling department, including Curtis Blaydes, a renowned grappler, including Cardio Cain Velasquez, a renowned grappler. These guys have not been able to withstand the power punching of Francis Ngannou, and so we don't really know where Francis is. I'm sure he'll be a favorite against Stipe the second time, just like he was the first time, but don't sleep on Stipe Miocic. He is rightfully one of, if not the greatest heavyweight in all of mixed martial arts history. And I'm just excited to see the fight happen. So why it isn't happening, I'm not sure. But I hope that the UFC announces Stipe versus Francis soon, because Francis is fed up, I'm fed up, and I think the fans are fed up. And last but not least, let's touch on kind of an interesting story involving Mike Perry. Mike Perry, of course, coming off of that unanimous decision loss against Tim Means at UFC 255. Heading into that fight, Mike Perry was trying to auction off one of his cornerman spots. If you remember, he has his girlfriend Latoria Gonzalez, and then there's an extra void to fill there. There was an auction process happening. Highest bidder gets that spot. They get all the backstage access that comes with being a UFC fighter's cornerman. And UFC President Dana White shut it down publicly, but it turns out it happened. Reddit MMA community corralled behind one guy who made the bid and officially joined Mike Perry as his cornerman for UFC 255. You can see him in the corner, you can see him shouting advice, and the guy filmed some behind the scenes content from Mike Perry's preparation, the fight itself, and it's really fascinating. The guy, all credit to him. I don't know if he has any MMA experience at all, but he gave some good advice out there. He kept it simple. He didn't overreach. He gave Mike advice like, back Tim Means up against the fence. He's letting you put him there. That's where you're going to win the fight. And Mike Perry even applauded his impromptu cornerman after the fact, saying, hey, you did a good job. I just wasn't able to make it happen. Poor conditioning, etc., etc. So I'll link to the YouTube video where you can watch the Reddit users behind the scenes experience at UFC 255. One of the more peculiar stories coming out, and definitely one of the more favorable ones involving Mike Perry. It's an interesting watch. I highly recommend you check it out. And that is all for today's Fightful Fix. Let me know in the comments section, what do you make of Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. under these very limited rules? If your excitement was at a 10 out of 10, what is it at now? And also let me know, do you think Francis Ngannou deserves a title shot against Stipe Miocic over Jon Jones? Because I definitely think the Predator should get the first stab. If you like this video, the best way you can help our channel grow, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell, and maybe leave a like on this video. Can't tell you how much that does for us. For Fightful MMA, I'm Shaquille Madjuri, and stay tuned for everything Fightful and so delightful. Peace. Fightful